Okay, well, good afternoon. Great to see some of you here. I was a bit concerned being the final slot that I might have lost a lot of people, but it's great that you could make it. My name is Alison Barnes, and I'm the Chief Executive at the New Forest National Park Authority. But I've been working quite a lot over the years to convene partnerships, such as the Green Halo Partnership, to talk about the role of nature and the environment in what makes this a great place to live, work, and be, really. So I think, it's fantastic to have the opportunity to reflect on this on such an important occasion for this area. I think someone once described this area as a sleeping giant. I'm not sure who it was, but I have it on Goose Wisdom, which is full of unrealized potential. In fact, I am a local girl, and I think we're probably quite good at hiding our greatness under a bushel compared to some other places that I've worked. But I think it's true to say that the giant is waking up. Is there a bit of a kind of yawn going on this morning? I don't know. Sorry, Brian. But, we are waking up and we're beginning to show the ambition that I think we deserve to be showing. The Freeport this morning launched, and of course the exciting vision which is encapsulated in the 2050 strategy, because it is exciting. If we do all the things in it, we're going to be great. We also have forward-looking urban regeneration projects, and so there's loads to celebrate. Transport hubs, we're in one of them now. World-class universities, which I've heard from one of them. And the diverse cultural offer that we have, which, things like the 2025 bid from the City of Culture just put in a capsule for us. And cutting-edge businesses in so many sectors. But I think importantly for me, and I hope for all of us here, is that this is set and happening where we have an outstanding natural environment. Okay, and I think that is not an accident, because I'd like to think the quality and fabric of our place is what dictates the potential and the excitement for the future. Now, our friend Pippa just then, she's been talking about innovation and cutting-edge future, but the fabric of what we've had and the quality of it goes back to the Ice Age. So if you just reflect on places like the New Forest have been in situ and deeply connected between people and nature since the Ice Age. And there are very, very few places that you can say that about. So it's a great asset to have places like the New Forest to our west, the South Downs to our east, the Solent, of course, with its special marine ecology and coast. You can just see it out there, actually. The beauty of the Isle of Wight, and the green spaces that run through our towns and cities. In fact, I was talking to John, I think it was earlier, about Southampton Common, and I think there's been a study recently that it's one of the most valuable places in terms of social capital in our whole country. I think you may have read that in the Echo or something. And this is all about a distinctive character and identity for our region. And something we must be justifiably proud of and really put to the fore in the plans that we create. But it's not just about it, being something for history. It's about the fact that this really does give value to our economy and our communities. And it needs to be firmly on the balance sheet as we go into our planning and as we look at the strategy. In fact, luckily, in our region, we have been looking at this thing that we call natural capital, which I'll come on to a definition of in a minute, for quite some time. So I realise I haven't given you the wonderful pictures to accompany my words, but hopefully these kind of give you that sense. How many places have something like that? Very, very few. So this natural capital thing, this is all about something that's been talked about quite a lot over the last 10 years or so. But in a nutshell, it means what nature gives us for free. So people like Professor Sudhita Helm here, who's a really eminent economist even at Oxford University, talks about, ending the apartheid between economic growth and enhancing the environment. Well, actually, if we're going to do that anywhere, here is where we need to actually do that. And because it gives us so much, what does it give us? It gives us carbon capture, the ability to absorb atmospheric pollution, protects us from flooding, offering businesses in our area and beyond materials and resources, places where people can go and relax and want to be, recharge their batteries. I mean, the health benefits that we've all grown to, had to look at over the last 2 years are enormous. I suppose it's a bit sad, really, that we need something like the pandemic to remind us of how important that is. But, the opportunity is that we can have healthy communities and healthy workforces because of the assets we have. In fact, the New Forest, I think, if you use this natural capital approach, you put it on the balance sheet, we can come up with a figure of about £66 million per annum value to our economy for delivering a whole range of services. And I imagine that's quite conservative because we've only looked at certain aspects of it. So if we don't have them, that's 66 million off the balance sheet, which you're going to have to try and pay for some other way. And in fact, I think that would be impossible. So it helps us with our net zero targets, all the trees, the woodlands, the wetlands of the New Forest, the coastal areas, the seagrass, the salt marshes. They're all integral to being a net zero place. And I could go on. In the recent policy context, you might have heard of levelling up. Yeah, there's a few nods. But there is quite a lengthy white paper, actually, which does describe what that is doing. It's looking at framing how do we increase our social and economic programme, our well-being. And of course, that's the backdrop against which we're going to have to win resources for our area. But I want to put it to you that amongst the 6 capitals that have been listed, which I've put up there in the white paper, there is a 7th one which underpins all of them. And that's our natural capital, which supports growth and will foster success. And I think what I'd like to get across here is that being so distinctive and unique and well-known and basically brilliant for our natural capital here means that we have a distinctive offer for the Solent, which is based on our natural environment as much as our great businesses, our great people, and the skills and jobs that we offer. So it's essential, really, for us realising our ambitions for green growth, health and prosperity. I think I've got a few nods, so maybe there's a bit of agreement there. So natural capital is part of our unique, distinctive story here in the Solent. And being distinctive and different does matter. So we've talked about levelling up. How do we differentiate ourselves? How do we make our offer to the UK PLC and the world different to anybody else's? So what? And that's important in a competitive world. And in a world where stability and progress relies on our responses to big issues, such as climate and nature emergencies, such as recovery from the global pandemic, and such as the rising cost of living, energy and food crises, actually the fabric of our places and the way we respond and we make them future-proof is actually key to long-term success. So if we are the place where we can show those things in situ and help others and to get innovations and best practice to the fore, then actually we will be well-beating and we will be on the cutting edge. It's not a break, I would suggest, on our progress. So we need to tell that story, and I've been really delighted to see that ambition has been set out pretty clearly in the 2050 strategy. So we've got the Solent LEP's 10-point plan for building back greener. A bit of a tongue twister, but I managed it. But it's particularly good to see that because it is placing those green credentials to the fore. And we've made a good start and we've set out a vision where we think sustainable and transformative growth does depend on these things. But of course, we've got to do the overall package. It's not about cherry picking one of these. It's about, you can't have zero carbon and then trash the rest of the environment. How's that going to kind of show a world-class response? So, there's quite a lot of work to do, and a lot of work to do together to make sure that these have substance and that they have sort of purchase, and they really are the beacons of the future and the hallmark of our area that we want to see. Much work has been done. I've been convening something called the Green Halo Partnership since 2016. I hope some of you have heard of it. But it's been a place where we've incubated this vision. This is a vision that was created by the public, private and third sector partners that came together around natural capital and the idea that we wanted to explore it as a group of people in our area. And this vision has been embraced. And Fawley Waterside is a great example of where natural capital has been put at the heart of the plans for quite a major development. We've got sustainable building examples going on. We've got people using natural capital to improve public health, social prescribing, and just, generally people through the pandemic seeing how that fabric of nature can help them with their physical and mental health. And of course, workforce, bottom line, sickness, etc. That is an incredibly important part of your margin. So I think the other thing I would say is that it has helped, I think, to shape our successful Freeport bid, where I believe that our green credentials were key. And so the keys to success and to kind of, nailing that down and is living up to it. So this is the next thing that we face. How do we use our understanding and our innovation around natural capital? The good news is that there has been a baseline developed, or at least for the New Forest and the wider area, which basically lists all the assets, the natural assets and their value. And that is a huge thanks to the LEP for funding that. That's a very sort of forward-thinking thing to do. And also Fawley Waterside for sort of pushing the agenda. We've also got a similar baseline that's being developed for the whole of Hampshire and Isle of Wight, which is being developed by the Local Nature Partnership. So that's going to really help us. And of course, all of these baselines show the extent and quality of the natural assets we have, what's in our bank account, if you like, of natural capital, where projects can be done, and what we can do to enhance that natural capital and give those range of benefits that give a lot of value and a lot of benefit to people, communities, and businesses. So I'm not going to go into this, but this is the sort of data that you would get from a natural capital baseline. So it shows where they are, we call them the ecosystem service flows. It's very technical, but it's basically what the stuff is that's giving a load of value to the area, whether it's carbon sequestration, flood amelioration, health and well-being benefits. And of course, we want more of those areas to be red, which is high benefit, than blue. So as you can see, if you were to plan something in some of the areas where we're doing Freeport activity to increase the red areas, then you're going to start to get even more benefit, which you can put on the balance sheet, actually, in terms of natural capital. There's a few figures that kind of come out of this kind of study, which, again, I'm not going to go into. This study is available. We can make it available to you. But it's all about using that and repeating that to look at the potential areas for improvement and actually plan to make them happen as part of the plans that we would make for other parts of the balance sheet. The other thing to say is that markets are opening up for these things. You've all heard about offsetting carbon. What about insetting carbon within our region, i.e. doing things in our own area which sequesters carbon, which there are actually huge opportunities to do. There's also quite a lot going on as a market around nitrates. I know those of you in the planning sphere will know that. But again, we can use those sort of markets to turn the opportunity to get more natural capital for the benefit of us all in situ. Getting there, but of course the pandemic has also given us a sort of lens of this thing called green recovery. Has anyone heard that phrase? What does that mean? So we've been using some of these baselines with our partners to focus and give a framework for our collective efforts on that over the last couple of years. And it started to be called something called the Green Print, and we're very, very grateful to the University of Southampton, Portsmouth University and the Southern Policy Centre, with support from the Partnership for South Hampshire for developing that. I haven't got time to go through it in a huge detail, but all I will say is that it's looking at, again, a distinctive approach for our area. What is green recovery brought to you by? And there are 5 things there that we are looking for: green skills and jobs, net zero with nature, natural health service, great places through quality design and build, and world-class blue and green environments. And we think if we all did something across that balanced scorecard, we end up having a collective improvement for our area. And there's a few indicators that we're working on to actually measure progress. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on that. Suffice to say, we hope this toolkit will be used widely across sectors. But the Green Print has been it really has had broad support because people wanted to know what green recovery would mean. And it did feed directly into the Freeport bid because through the Partnership for South Hampshire, we had all the local authorities signed up to the Green Print, which was a really, great thing to be able to say at that point. But of course, we need firm action behind those, those headings. We need to underpin them with focus and rigour and resources, whether it be, making sure that environment and social issues are part of the governance of the Freeport. ESG, that's what most big boards across the globe have as a main part of their governance. We need to see that emerging so that the performance is monitored. We need to keep these baselines up to date, and we need the research linking in with the universities to make sure that we are understanding our environment enough to make the right choices. And we need a portfolio of projects that are investable for our area. Believe me, others have got quite good portfolios. Where's ours? Because we could be levering in a lot of resources and investment in our area if we knew what that portfolio was. There's other things going on. So as I said, the Solent nitrate neutrality scheme is a trading scheme that's using these principles. We've got environmental land management schemes for farmers. Now we've left Europe. We're going to have a domestic agricultural policy, which is more looking at what they call public money for public good, i.e. trying to support some of these goods and services within the farmed environment if we're going to give subsidy. Green finance opportunities are everywhere, either through biodiversity net gain in planning, this offsetting, the corporate ESG work that I've just mentioned, and a whole raft of other things. We've got green apprenticeships going on across our area. We've got training and skills offers that have green elements in them. Perhaps they're a little bit piecemeal at the moment. We've got health and wellbeing and social prescribing offers which are working with nature. So there is a rich seam for our green entrepreneurs and our innovators, and we need Solent to be the place where people come to find those green jobs and to train in green futures, if you like. I left the region because I had to go somewhere else and then come back. What if our young people didn't have to leave the region and they could have the best people in this field working here and seeding the rest of the world? So this means not compromising on the fabric upon which we can make this distinctive, world-beating offer. So that means maintaining our natural capital and enhancing it. So in conclusion, our amazing and unique nature and the natural capital it offers us here in the Solent is one of our great strengths. It is world-beating. We're starting to build an ambitious plan around a sustainable future which builds on our natural capital. But the next step is to move from these words, the aspirations in all of our strategies, to the delivery that's so important. It's not just nice to have this natural capital, it's an essential part of our future here in the Solent. And as we develop the Freeport, the Solent strategy and other strategies, we need to be prepared to ensure we invest in them. And we need to bring in the best people to help make the most of these assets. And we need to act boldly in a way that differentiates us in this arena. As the founder of Patagonia said, to do something good, you have to do something. So everyone needs to be prepared to do something together, and we can make quite a big difference then. So last but not least, as I said at the beginning, I think we have a tendency in our area to sort of hide our light under the bushel. But we've got to have conviction that we can be and should be the best. We should be the place where world-class environment, world-class economy is seen and felt and tangible in situ, and where the investment is really pushing us that way. We need to hold each other to really high standards and demand the best from each other. And I think with that, our 2050 strategy can be one of the most iconic that anybody has produced. So thank you for listening. Any questions? Or if everyone's ready to have a cup of tea.
Are there any particular plans around cleaning up the water in our local areas that probably capture fish? You can fry it straight away, you don't need to let oil to the pan.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all part of it. So I think, obviously, bodies like the Environment Agency and the port authorities, you know, they're going to be very involved in looking at water quality and how we can improve that. I think one of the big things that kind of we need to do is make the case for the investment to get even better facilities to allow that to happen. And the best way to do that is to come together to sort of, you know, project what's possible and not accept the baseline of where we are. I think some of these maps will also be great ways of, you know, if there are markets around things like nitrates or phosphates, if we can show the places where, you know, those markets could invest and get a return and make your fish less oily, then we're going to start to sort of turn the tide. But we have to be quite innovative, and we have to use all the tools in the toolkit and also not accept the status quo. You know, challenge each other a bit here. So really good question. I haven't answered it completely. But I think, you know, we've got some of the instruments we need to try and push it in that direction if we're willing to use them. Yeah. John?
Just following on to points about water quality, Alison, I think the power of the partnership that has been created through the LEP and Freeport is there should be, one would hope, a really powerful collaboration between local government and business and the community to bring pressure to bear on the utility companies to upgrade their assets
Thank you, John. I mean, this is why I talk about a balanced scorecard approach. So those of you in business will know that it's no good being really great at one thing if everything else is going to the wayside. So this is very much about the fabric of the place being, enhanced, systems being put in place to make it better. And things like natural capital accounting can help you sort of target that. But, it does need commitment from all of us not to accept the cherry picking, the pet projects, the green fig leaves, dare I say, which, they're all very nice, but they don't get into that deep systemic change that we need to have. And if we get that, we will, as I say, be well beating. We need to believe that. But yes, I think I could agree with you completely there, John. I think there was a question just here. Yeah.
There's a real love-hate relationship between cyclists and a lot of people who live in the forest and motorists, and an awful lot of forest roads are really dangerous to cycle on.
Yeah.
And does the National Park have much of a cycling?
Yeah, I mean, sustainable transport is an absolutely key part of this, isn't it? So I think this is about master planning. It's about being more strategic. It's about rejecting the idea that we might have, so we could call it friendly fire between each other, because if we've got these big overarching objectives, we need to come together to look at how things like cycleways, roads, we've got a great rail infrastructure actually, water infrastructure, we've got real opportunities to make that better for the future. I mean, if we get stuck in the conflicts of today, it's going to be difficult for us to move to the future, but in order to get that future vision, we need some investment, and then we need proposals for these projects to start people to visualize that and see how that can be different. And, somewhere like the New Forest, the cycling and walking network, I think it's quite important to look at how we link beyond our boundaries. I mean, we've heard about the 326 today. Where's the innovative plans about that being a really, exciting proposition for walkers and cyclists, as well as, we've got to do things that may be a little bit left field, maybe wouldn't be the first thing we would invest in, but have this belief, this conviction that if we do some of these things and have a vision and a project portfolio to back it, that we are going to actually start to make an infrastructure that is fit for the future. But I think going piecemeal on different, small projects is where you just get stuck, and where perhaps, the environmental is versus the, that apartheid gets stuck in small things like that, which are important, but equally I think we need to force ourselves to go further about understanding the whole system and which projects would help that transform in a sustainable way. But I'm happy to talk to you afterwards about cycle routes in the New Forest.
Is there ever any hope of the bypass round Winter's? Is that off the table nowadays?
I think it's pretty much off the table right now, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you for listening with me. Great to see you.